believe what you're telling me. In your reality, I'm a character in fiction? Yep, and I'm an actor who plays you on TV. But there's someone here I knew you had to meet. He's the man who created you for fans all over the world.
And I said to Jack, what if his skin turns green?
Excuse me. I'm looking for some guy named Stan Lee.
What? Spider-Man? Pam, hold my calls for a while. I think I've finally gone crazy. Oh, man! Wow! You know, Spidey, I've always wanted to experience real web-slinging.
And I've always wanted to be appreciated as a real hero. It seems you've made me into one. Thanks.
Hey, don't mention it.
Spider-Man, it's time to go.
Who is that exotic lady?
Oh, her? Oh, she's my ride. It's been great meeting you. Take care of yourself.
You too, Spider-Man. Farewell and good luck. Wow, I wonder how I'm supposed to get down from here. I suppose I could wait for the Fantastic Four to drop by and give me a lift.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
And I'm Ryan.
And Ryan's not here with me because it is the planet Hoth outside. So even though he lives a block away, he's Skyping in today. I keep using Skype as a verb, and I don't know if that's a thing yet or not. But I'm going with it.
It's a verb.
And joining us from Los Angeles, California, is friend of the show, Devon Struthers. Welcome, Devon.
Hello, everybody. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Devon.
So we're recording 2 episodes tonight, but before we dive into our actual episode, we felt like it was appropriate to pay tribute to Stan Lee. In case anyone hasn't been on the internet this week, Stan Lee passed away at the age of 94. He was a major comic book editor, writer, not really an artist, but just huge into pop culture. Big influence for a lot of artists and people. So I thought we'd just take some time and talk about our favorite like Stan Lee creations, cameos, and all that. So whichever one of you guys wants to go first, go for it.
Hey, Devon, you're the guest, so you get to go first.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys. I mean, honestly, probably my favorite one is probably not that original. I love him in Deadpool.
Okay.
Where he was at the strip club. I thought that hilarious and not at all like consistent with all of the other ones that he's done. So it's like, oh, he's in the strip club as a DJ. Like I thought.
Yeah. And that's the only R-rated movie he's done a cameo in, because he was not in any of the Blade movies as far as I know.
Oh, but you're right.
No, I don't think he was.
Yeah.
That would have been big if he was.
Because I know listening to Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith, they talked about how X-Men was his first cameo and how much of a hassle that was to get because he was suing Marvel at the time. So he didn't want to come do it.
Was he really?
So, yeah.
Oh, no.
If you haven't listened to the Fat Man Beyond, where they pretty much had an Irish wake for Kevin Smith, probably right up the street from where you are, Devon, at that Star Wars bar. So
it's got Tony?
Yeah. Have you been there yet?
No, but I need to. It's right up the road.
You really should. They do a show there every week, Tuesday nights.
Yeah, the fact that I haven't gone is just all my fault.
Yes. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, it's there. Go find it. Ryan, what about you?
Well, when it comes to me for cameos, I mean, I love the cameo he did. I believe it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where he's being interviewed by the Watchers?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they just leave him there. And he says, hey, guys, I need my ride back. And he's just, like, stranded on this planet or asteroid. Like, that's my favorite cameo he's done. A close second would be Thor Ragnarok as the hairdresser.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a good one.
But I mean, my favorite thing that he did was X-Men. Just from the whole standpoint of like what the meaning behind that was, just just embracing who you are, no matter if people hate you for it or not. Like just the whole idea behind it. So that's my favorite thing that he did.
Yeah, I mean, he was very big into making sure that the readers were able to identify with the characters and making the characters real. That's the biggest thing that he contributed to these characters and pop culture, because that's really what separates DC from Marvel. Is like Marvel, you have these characters who you can identify with. Not many people can identify with an alien in the middle of Kansas or a billionaire playboy in Gotham City.
I mean, right, and like, I mean, and even down to like their superhero weaknesses. Like Spider-Man's biggest weakness is juggling a work-life, Spider-Man life balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's huge. Like that's not, you wouldn't find that in DC. Like,
and I think like
He doesn't have a rock allergy.
right.
he's the color yellow doesn't make him weak. No, and I think like the what you were talking about with the Spider-Man thing, the Peter Parker work-life balance, like that really plays into the movies too. Like that's what makes Spider-Man 2 one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Like,
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that element of I can't do this anymore. Like I can't have this balance. I need to give this up so I can be happy. And then it's shit on in Spider-Man 3, but still.
No.
I mean, and talking about Spider-Man 3, I think that might, like, as much as I hate that movie, that's probably one of my favorite cameos of Stan Lee's, is him coming up to Peter, as stupid as it is, him coming up to Peter Parker in the middle of Times Square saying, you know, I think maybe one person can make a difference. Enough said. Like that's the cameo. Like that's the sweetest cameo. That's just the one that's coming to my head right now. But the Iron Man ones are fun. Like him pretending, like him getting confused for Larry King and Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Hugh Hefner one was funny.
Hugh Hefner one was funny. But that one's not going to stand the test of time. Like
No,
parents are going to have to explain to their kids who Hugh Hefner was. And that's going to be an awkward conversation. Larry King, not so much. Like, he was a journalist. He's still alive.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you talked about the X-Men being your favorite. Devon, who is your favorite Stan Lee creation?
Oh, always Spider-Man.
Always Spider-Man?
Literally, since I was a little kid, I read Spider-Man comics. I watched all of the like cartoons that they had, even like the weird Neil Patrick Harris one.
I forgot about that. The MTV one.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, Spider-Man was hands down my favorite, like from before he was huge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, same here. Like I grew up on the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, and like I remember Stan Lee had a cameo in that. Like that was one of the first things that I knew Stan Lee was in. He was in like the last episode, because the last episode they do like the Spider-Verse thing, and one of the Peter Parkers is an actor playing Peter Parker in a thing, and Stan Lee's there like, hey, I think they actually used the actor's name, and I can't remember what it was. It's the guy who played Greg Brady, going back to what we were talking about before we recorded in the in those movies. He had a cameo in that too, and but yeah, I just Spider-Man 2 is still one of my favorite movies, and but I think my favorite cameo outside of the Marvel stuff is, and I posted this on Facebook, and I think Devon, you were there for this story, was the Simpsons episode where Stan Lee showed up. Do you remember this story?
I don't know.
Okay.
Go ahead and start telling me.
Okay. So the day of my wedding, Devon and I were in the hotel. He had the room right across from me. And as we're getting ready, FXX had their Every Simpsons Ever marathon going. And I'm getting ready, and it's about time to go. And the Simpsons episode with Stan Lee at the comic book store, talking to the comic book man and ruining Martin's Batmobile with an Incredible Hulk figure is playing. And I was like, I should probably go get married, but I'm really enjoying this. It was really nice to have that play. Like I was a little nervous because it's your wedding day. You get a little butterflies. It helped me calm me down. I think Simpsons and Stan Lee, that combination was the perfect thing to help me that day. So I was like, Devon, Stan Lee's on The Simpsons.
I totally remember that now. I love that.
But I never met Stan Lee at a con. Devon, I know you've gone to a few cons. Was Stan Lee ever at any of them?
He was. I've seen him I was in a con in Chicago once, and he
C2E2?
had like his own booth. I did not know. I met the guy that voices like Nathan Drake. He does a lot of like video game voices.
Okay.
Got to meet him, and that was
Nice.
pretty cool. But Troy Baker, that was it.
Yeah, nice.
Um,
I knew it too.
yeah, but yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But no, he had his own booth, and then he was like super awesome and just like standing outside of it and like saying hi to people as they passed,
yeah.
which was really really cool. Like not something that really any of the other people did.
Yeah. He was at New York Comic Con the first year I went, and it was his last con doing autographs and photo sessions on the East Coast. At least that's how Reed Pop promoted it. And
Sure.
he did a panel with Kevin Smith and a few other comic book creators. I think Joe Quesada was there, and it was just like sold out right away. So there's no way we were even going to try to get into that. And it was one of those things like I kind of in the back of my mind I was like, this is probably my only chance to see Stan Lee, and I'm not going to be able to take it. So, but got to see Kevin Smith the second year though, in passing, but
that's
I
cool.
saw him.
That's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's about
So,
all
I
Okay.
did a little bit of research, if you don't mind.
Okay, go for
before.
it.
I saw that he has 2 more cameos coming up.
Yeah, that's
Some things that aren't released yet. He's going to be in Ralph Breaks the Internet, and he's of course going to be in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
Which, like, I wonder how they handle that.
I
well,
don't know.
didn't they say that he also filmed the one for Avengers 4 already?
Yeah, I think
I saw that.
Avengers
Yeah.
4 and I think Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, that's awesome.
We might even get one in Spider-Man: Far From Home. Like I don't, because a few years ago they went back when James Gunn still worked for Marvel. They had him film the cameos for Guardians 2, Homecoming, Ragnarok, and I'm guessing Infinity War.
Well, I mean, they knew that his health was going downhill too, and I believe that that's what kind of prompted them doing all the cameos at once because I mean,
Yeah.
he was in pain.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things where like it's sad about him passing, but at the same time, it's like we kind of knew this was going to come. It's just when it hits, and it's hard.
yeah.
You know, like you're never ready for it.
It was his health and the fact that he didn't want to travel that much, and they shoot all these
Yeah.
movies in Atlanta now, so he'd have to travel all the way to there from Los Angeles, and that's a long flight. And I think
Yeah,
they
that
even
would've been
they shot Ragnarok in New Zealand, so there's no way he's flying there.
Oh, yeah.
No.
But we haven't seen the last of Stanley. I'm glad to say that Venom will not be his last cameo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank goodness.
Oh,
That's terrible.
speaking of Stanley now, there's actually, which I heard the interview about, I think a day ago, NPR was replaying an interview that they did with Stanley back in 1990.
Okay.
That
Wow.
was it's very, very, very interesting. So for any listeners, if you want to go on and look this thing up, one of the things that they talked about was that his original idea for his characters beat starting Marvel was the fact that they wouldn't wear costumes. Like he wanted his characters not to be wearing costumes and leotards. He wanted them to wear everyday things. But after the first couple issues of Marvel's first, like their first attempts, the readers, the response they got was, "Hey, this is great, but where's their costumes?" So he was kind of forced into having like Spider-Man wearing like a red and blue leotard and his characters being flashy. And they actually talked a little bit how he thinks that it has to do with like just the human psyche. But it's about maybe like a 20-minute interview. Very interesting. Very interesting. And he references a Spider-Man movie that was never made, that was being written at the time.
Yeah, he had a great when he died, everyone had everything ready to go, so things were posted in like the first few hours. And Conan O'Brien's people posted an interview from 1995 where he talked about before he was a comic book writer, he wrote for obituaries for people who were still alive. And he's like,
What?
you know that you made it when they have an obituary ready to go for when you die, and they just post it right away. And then somebody in the comments like, well, seeing that Marvel had their whole site changed in an hour afterwards, I think you made it, Stan.
Aw.
But
I love that.
another great interview with him, if you can find it, is he was on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman, which is now Fat Man Beyond. If you want to go find that, he was on it like in the early days, where it was just interviews. You can go. Like, I'm not gonna be stopping the video just so you can cut across. And it was very sneaky the first time where you just bolted across. I know, but you made it look so suspicious.
It was kind of the best. It looked like somebody was robbing pizza.
She's just standing there waiting for me to give her the go ahead. I'm like, this isn't a stoplight. All right. Yeah. So I think that's our tribute to Stan Lee. Yeah. Anything else? Any other final thoughts? Or is that enough said?
Aw. Did you guys play the video games with him in it? I know this is a movie thing.
The new one?
He was in the new one. There was also a PS1 era Spider-Man game where he narrated the intro.
No, I never played that one.
Yeah, that's where I fell in love with him, as a person. Because he starts it off "Welcome, true believers," and I'm like, "Oh, this guy's adorable! I love this."
I think I had a demo for that one, and I think I remember that.
Yeah,
I think I had it on PC because I remember the Y's in town had it for 20 cents. They had 500 copies of it. They could not get rid of.
It's the best way to play that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I definitely remember that. Yeah, how is the new Spider-Man game?
I love it. It's the only game I've platinumed and 100%ed. It's completely, I don't know. I'm obsessed with it.
That's how I was with the Spider-Man 2.
What's your Spider-Man suit?
What's what?
What's your Spider-Man suit? Because I know you can customize these things.
Oh, the animated one. Hands down the animated one.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I think it's amazing. And the superpower is insults, which is the best. You just insult the bad guys more. I love it.
So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about Spider-Man and Stan Lee next month as we prepare for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because that's going to be a fun one. And maybe we'll have Devon back for that.
Oh, I would love that. I can't wait for this movie.
I can't wait for that movie just for John Mulaney's Spider-Ham.
Right.
Real quick before we end this, I took my 2-year-old niece to see The Grinch the other day. For her first movie. From what I saw, it was good. We had to leave early because she's 2, and she had to go to the bathroom. So I can't get mad at her for making me leave the theater because she had to go to the bathroom. She's potty training right now, so that was really good of her. But she lied to me and said she had to poop when she did not. But besides the point. She got really excited when the Spider-Man trailer came on for Into the Spider-Verse. Because she's never been in a movie theater before. So when Spider-Man came on, she sat back and she's like, she got really excited, and it was adorable. And then I took her to Walmart to buy a toy afterwards, and she almost bought a Spider-Man toy. And then she's like, no, Elsa. So I tried. I really tried.
You were almost there.
Almost.
But all right, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And we'll see you next week or later this week.
Later this week.
Yeah, later this week. We have another episode coming up right after this. So, Excelsior!
I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.